I'm about to begin my NaNoWriMo writing. I need to get to 50,000 words, not all today. I'm going to go for 2,500 words today and try to keep that pace throughout, which should have me finished about the 20th. Of course, the novel needs to be finished, so I'm going to make sure that happens. It's going to be around 50,000 words, but it might be a little over to finish up. So that last day may be a little bit of a marathon, but we'll see how that goes. And I think we're ready to start. This is Ruthless, Rabid, Raging, Ravenous, Rampaging, Remorseless, Repulsive, Revolting, Repugnant Zombies by Jay Wilburn. I haven't even started writing, and I'm already 14 words towards my goal. The secret to NaNoWriMo is long titles, I think. So here we go. Waldo Bloodfist struggled under the weight of the dead man trying to bite out poor Waldo's throat. But, well, we're making this a long sentence, long titles, long sentences. But it was that GDI, let's make it ED. Well, I need to, if I'm going to write cuss words, I need to spell them right. Let's make it eyeball so it's specific. That GD eyeball swinging from a gray thread of optic nerve that was so effing let me switch this out. I'm gonna change out my cuss words here, so we'll use GD there, and then we'll use the F word up here. Cussing in a story, especially the first line, is an art form that you really don't want to take lightly. Don't take yourself seriously, but take your writing seriously and take your cussing seriously. Day one, Tom. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you dropping in on the movies too. Hopefully, this will be at least as entertaining as a poorly shot 1980s horror movie. All right, but it was the effing. Okay, let me get the grammar correct on my cuss words. Eyeball swinging from a gray thread of optic nerve that was so GD'd distracting to the point of almost being hypnotic. Alright. He just called himself Waldo. Alright. Got our first paragraph done. Is that 2,500 words? Oh no, we still got a ways to go. Thanks for being here. Tom got some good writing in so far today too. I need to check the site over there, guys. I haven't seen how you've been doing today. Hopefully you've updated. If not, we'll just talk about the titles that you wrote. So I'm looking forward to see how everybody else did. Did you guys do any midnight stuff? I got 1,674 before I went to sleep around 1. Have 232 so far total. Very good, man. You guys are killing it. I'm too old and lazy for those midnight things, so I have to make up all my writing in the daytime like a respectable working man, I guess. But congratulations on that. All right. This bag of bones was way too heavy. Waldo tried to squirm out from under him in the, let's say, in the middle of the city street, but no dice. Through his arms, holding the hungry corpse away by a few inches, he could feel no muscle to speak of left on the zombie's frame. Okay, but the effer weighed, let's say had to weigh, as much as 2 bags of concrete. The thing was crushing Waldo's balls. As more zombies took their time shuffling in from all sides out of the crumbling ruins of the city. Okay, as zombies took their time shuffling in from all sides into the crumbling ruins of the city, he tried to hook a leg and roll this piece of shit off him with that terrible, let's say along with that terrible dangling eye. Alright. It didn't work. Along with his crushing balls, grit and debris dug into his back. Then he remembered he had a pack underneath his shirt. It was probably the goods in there. Digging at his spine. Waldo clenched his teeth and growled out, "Fuck you." Okay, hold on. I don't know why I spelled out with extra vowels and extra letters, but there you go. Fuck you to hell. He drove his right fist up into that stretched face, snapping teeth, and swinging eyeball. If he'd had time to think, he probably wouldn't have tried to punch out a zombie. But he was having a bad morning. All right. Waldo's fist crashed into the already broken nose as he pushed his knuckles. No, you don't push knuckles. As he drove his knuckles. I'll see if I used it. No, I've already used the word drove. As he bashed his knuckles through the skull, the face pulled loose from the oily bones and vanished inside the cold brains, along with Waldo's forearm. His fist crashed out through the back of the zombie's head. Bone shards and chunks of viscera. Alright, let's see if I can spell that right with the help of a computer. There we are. Looks like I know what I'm doing. As long as you guys don't say anything, then everybody will think I know how to spell viscera all by myself, and then they'll think I'm cool. Bone shards and chunks of viscera flew far enough to spatter the faces of more hungry corpses, closing the circle. Of course, they weren't as far away as when Waldo let this dead man get the drop on him. Okay. He missed the eyeball. He missed the eyeball. It still hung almost low enough to dip into his open mouth. Waldo stared in shock as the dead weight settled on top of him. The struggle was over, but he was still pinned with time running out. Alright. Feel good about that so far. Let's describe his nasty fist. I took a lot of notes here, so we'll see what I can actually use. Of all the surprises from his first time punching through someone's skull like a effing superhero, the fact that all that gore still had so much red in it was unnerving. I don't know if there needs to be a comma there, but I'll figure it out later. Was unnerving. Okay, what else can we say about this gore? It was laced with the color, no, let's say the hue, with the hue and the smell of deep wet rot. All right, there we go. All right. It took an effort to open his caked hand. The stuff between his fingers was sticky like tar. All right. What else? As droplets ran down his wrist through the tunnel of the busted head and to his elbow. More bits clung in globs. That says globes, in globs around his opening and closing hand. All right, and maybe some of that was the remains of the dead man's hand and dead man's brains, but Waldo couldn't tell. Alright, get the hell off your effing back, he scolded himself in a strained growl. The zombies getting close enough to touch him with their long shadows growled back. He couldn't understand them. Let's say obviously. Why not throw in an adverb? Alright, he couldn't understand them, obviously, but he suspected they were saying they'd be happy if he stayed on his effing back like the idiot snack he was. Let's say the idiot zombie snack. Zombie snack he was. Alright, let's lowercase this F word up here. I got so excited writing the F word so many times that I wanted to capitalize it. Alright, so he's on his back with everything he had for what it might be worth in his final moments. Alright, take out the extra A. Moments. Alright. For what it would be worth in his final moments, he rolled the brainless corpse off him. The bones of the broken skull felt sharp, jagged, and threatening around his arm, but Waldo gave a backward lunge to pull himself free anyway. It didn't work. Something twinged in his lower back as he hauled the over heavy corpse to its feet against his chest. Damn it all. They were on him. Too late to be smart. Time to get desperate. Waldo... Okay, hold on. Let me capitalize his name instead of making it look like it's part of a website. Alright, Waldo... Great name for any hero. Wheeled backward as the zombies clawed. Well, no, let's not have them clawing it. Let's have them paw. The zombies pawed at the body, and the sticky coating over his trapped right fist. Okay. He stumbled over a wheel cast aside in the road, but kept his footing even with the great weight still hung from his arm. More zombies grabbed at his back, but without looking, Waldo kept running and dragging backward through their arms. Alright, miracles of miracles. He got out of the ring of closing monsters. Now they all converged from one direction, and he held up the faceless dead shield between him and them. If he'd meant to do this, it would have looked very cool to anyone watching. Hold on, let me spell anyone correctly. Anyone watching. Okay, he thought. He slammed his back against the side of some rusty vehicle. Waldo thought he was lucky it wasn't a jutting piece of rebar or some sharp point of metal instead. It was hard to appreciate. All right, thank you, computer, for spelling that correctly. It makes me look like I know what I'm doing. As long as these folks watching don't tell anybody, everyone will think I know how to spell. And that's what all the cool kids do, is spell. All right, it was hard to appreciate his luck with the undead still tracking him. All right. Let's say the glass behind his shoulder crinkled but didn't break. Tapping and squeaking. Okay, let's maybe put a U in. You always have to have a U after a Q. Alright, tapping and squeaking followed. There must have been reanimated corpses still trapped inside the vehicle, even after all these years. Waldo flexed his sticky fingers I know how you feel. Alright, good so far. We're 800 words in. 800 words into the greatest zombie story ever written. Alright. Okay. Okay. Waldo noticed the belt around, let's say the utility belt. The utility belt around the corpse's waist. It wasn't like Batman, more of a workman's belt. He felt around for anything he could use. The loops for hammers and other tools. Okay, hold on just a second. Alright, the loops for hammers and other tools were empty. Just his luck. He opened one of the pouches and found why, let's say discovered why this bag, good grief, spell some things correctly, Jay. Be impressive. Okay, he opened one of the pouches and discovered why this bag of bones was so heavy. It was packed with loaded, let's say fully loaded magazines of bullets. Waldo didn't know guns well enough to tell which kind of rifle these would fit. The zombie, okay, let's say the dispatched zombie that Waldo now wore as a bracelet had no gun to go with this ammo. Let's say this ample supply of ammo. That was a lot to carry, and probably why this a-hole became a zombie in the first place. Okay. The dead, let's say the undead mob pressed into the back of the corpse and pinned Waldo to the car. The belt full of useless magazines crunched into his balls again. Alright, let me add something up here because it's dumb to carry that many magazines, which is part of the point here. Discovered the bag of bones was so heavy it was packed with fully loaded magazines of bullets. Let's say here, not clips of reloads. No, these were entire magazines. All right. Okay, let's have Waldo get into the fight here. Waldo lifted the... Okay, no, let's do something else first. He felt the cold lips of the zombies brush over the gooey sides of his fist behind the corpse's head. Okay. Waldo lifted the magazine. Okay. Lifted the, let's say, useless. Alright. Waldo lifted the useless magazine in his clean fist, even though he knew that by the time you felt their mouths on you, it was already too late. He slammed the blunt end of the magazine down on their heads, one after the other. It gave a satisfying crack. It split the skin over their mangy scalps. It dented the exposed bone of their skulls. But it failed to breach into their red-black brains. He targeted the ones tasting his skin. A few he managed to reel backward, but he didn't put them down. Let's say he failed to put them down. No bites. He stared in wonder with precious seconds he could not spare. The gore over his trapped fist was smeared around. No, let's just say smeared around. Smeared around, but no bites. They had their mouths on him. He felt them, but they hadn't sunk in their teeth. He wasn't complaining. He wasn't complaining, but he had no explanation. The zombies backed off their pressure just enough for him to draw a refreshing breath of their stink before they returned to crushing him. Waldo growled back and started beating them about their heads with the magazine again. Let me say metal magazine so it's not confusing to anyone that forgot what I was talking about. Metal magazine again. The long bullets flew loose from the top as one impact followed another. Okay. The live rounds popped against the roof of the car behind him and pinged off the cracked asphalt of the street. Okay, let's spell some things right here. Alright. Alright, I need an L in asphalt, so we'll just add that in for fun. Alright, 1,200 words into the greatest zombie story ever told. Alright, behind him and pinged off the cracked asphalt of the street between their feet. Okay. Finally, a couple of them cracked open and spilled their brains as they collapsed. Waldo's right shoulder ached terribly. All right. He unbuckled the utility belt and it fell from the narrow waist of the corpse. It thumped the ground with authority. His tired arm still felt weak, but the body was light in comparison to before. All right, Waldo tried to shake the corpse off his arm. The eyeball on its withered okay, let's see if I can spell that right while I'm here. The eyeball on its withered string of optic nerve slapped against, let's say, his cheeks. Okay, the zombies stepped over their spilled partners. They bypassed Waldo's gory arm and tried to reach him from the sides. Okay. Waldo seized the corpse's wrinkled throat. The flesh tore away in ribbons, but he succeeded in pushing the body down his arm a few inches. More dead hands clawed at his ribs through his shirt on both sides. Okay, here we go. Waldo lifted one knee and pushed the body a little more. He then braced, braced his boot in its sternum and threw the body off of him into the faces, say the surviving faces of the mob. His arm was a mess all the way, let's say cold mess, because of course this is blood and gore from a zombie. Alright, his arm was a cold mess all the way up to the elbow. Say the zombies reached for him like they appreciated his help in opening up the space for them. He used his raised boot to kick them back one at a time. But there were just too many. Waldo slid along the rusty side of the vehicle and rolled over the hood. As the zombies passed around the old car on both sides, he broke into a run. Okay. He rounded the corner at the next intersection, only to find more and more of the city's undead coming out from their alcoves and shadows to see what all the commotion was about. They found it was about Waldo. So they they keep closing in on him. So they took after him as soon as they spied him. Alright. What needs to happen here next? Weapons. He needed weapons to get through this cluster F. Okay. The city had been coming down for years now. It opened up gaps in the walls for zombies to escape and catch him. It also left large chunks of, well, let's spell chunks right, come on now. Also left large chunks of rock, stone, and brick scattered through the unused streets. Okay. Waldo grabbed up one of these chunks with a nice sharp corner of brick showing through. He tried to hold it in his right hand, his dominant hand. But I'll say that arm felt dead from holding up that body. Alright, I feel like I should have broken a chapter up here. From the time he rolls over the car, let me make that chapter 2. Unbuckled, unfastened. They bypassed. His arm was a cold mess. Zombies reached for him like they appreciated his help in opening up the space for them. He used his raised boot. Okay. Roadway. Okay, do I need him to see somebody here? Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm checking my notes. Alright, not yet. Okay. Spy the weapons he needed. No, I'm not going to make a break there. Sorry, I just wanted to see if I needed to do a break there. Okay. But that arm felt dead from holding up the body all that time. So he took the stone blunt object in his dumb left hand. Okay. Okay, let me start off with on the run. Waldo grabbed up. Okay. They got close fast. It didn't help that he had to run right into them. Let's say into their path, as they spilled out of buildings on both sides. He had too many behind him to backtrack, so his only choice was to go through them. Let's say, or he could die. That was the other choice. He smashed the brick side of his rock against the face of the first zombie to reach him. The zombie staggered, but kept its feet under it. The stone disintegrated. Alright, let me see if I can spell disintegrated right. No, not disintegration. Disintegrated in a burst of white powder. What remained of his weapon dribbled out between his clean fingers. The zombie actually blinked. Waldo, let me do a new paragraph here. Alright. The zombie actually blinked. Waldo had never seen that before. White powder puffed from its nostrils like it was a cold day. The undead monster, now with a mime's face, came after Waldo again. He dodged around and grabbed up another stone. As a zombie reached from the other side, Waldo swung the chunk hard into the thing's temple. He felt the rock crumble on impact. The zombie spun in place, but the only damage was a coating of white dust on one side of its head. He grabbed up more rocks and knocked zombies back with more powdery explosions. None of them were stopped by these pitiful rocks. Let's say pitiful concrete jokes. What the living hell, man? Whoever poured this stuff, should be ashamed. He hoped every last one of them had been torn apart slowly and painfully by a mob of stinking corpses with dangling eyeballs. No wonder these walls had collapsed first. He tried to dodge through the growing crowd, but the street was getting busy, and he wasn't moving fast enough. Okay, feel good about that so far. Let's see what's next. Then there it was, sticking out from under, let's say, a pile of blackened bones near one gutter. The bright red handle of an aluminum. I knew I wasn't going to spell that right the first time. Come on, Jay. Why did you even think you could? All right. The bright red handle of an aluminum baseball bat poked out like a signal. It was a bright gift from the gods in a city of muted, dead tones. This was the weapon waiting for a king to pull it free and conquer the undead world with it. Alright, let's say he elbowed 3 zombies aside as he cut to the left and yanked the overbright bat free. It took no effort. Old bones from long-ended zombies scattered about the roadway as Waldo lifted the weapon, glorious and lifted the weapon glorious and perfect into the air. Waldo stood in place with his courage restored, and waited for the slow-moving threat to come to him. They seemed to be... Well, this needs to be the same paragraph. Alright. They seemed to be spread out nicely now. It was like they were teed up for him to for them to bash their brains out in one clean swing after another. The first one, a bent old lady who was probably quite nice and beloved in life, shuffled up first. The handle felt perfect in his hands. The gore around his, let's say the gore over his right palm, gave him a nice firm grip. Let's say he swung away. Alright. Now, the bat bent backward, and the stress point turned pink-white as the weapon folded in half. That sweet old lady, zombie, pinched into the flesh under both his biceps with painful strength. As she opened her jaws to tear as she opened her jaws to tear into him with the few teeth she had left, Waldo decided that she probably pinched her poor grandchildren like that when no one was looking. She was mean to her nurses and barked at young waitresses that served her. Waldo dropped the disappointing bat and headbutted the zombie. Her nose caved in, and her lower jaw popped down and loose. Her eyes held him. Her eyes held him like nothing had bothered her. But as his head throbbed with pain, she lost her grip and her balance, dropping to her backside in the street. With her ruined mouth, she tried for his calf anyway. Waldo fought the temptation to kick her in the face out of frustration. Instead, he turned and ran. Okay, let's do a new paragraph here. Let's say the zombies that seemed to be flowing endlessly out of every opening on both sides of this street. Okay. The zombies that seem to be flowing endlessly out of every opening on both sides of this street. Were, let's say, filled in all around him again. He'd wasted his opening by placing too much faith in that beautiful red bat. Okay. Okay, he had to swing wide around a cluster of shambling bodies. All right. Which brought him close to the cars parked forever on one curb. Okay. I try to only use shambling in a zombie story once, so it's been used so much that if I use it once, I try not to ever use it again in the same story, because zombies are always shambling. Of course, then you end up stuck in you end up stuck using other words, though. So let's see what we can do here. All right, pieces of metal stuck out from under those cars. Waldo did his best to jump over those pieces, but he caught one with his ankle. He expected to hear and feel the bone snap, but a metal pipe spun out from under a car and into the street with a clatter. Waldo paused again. He didn't want to get his hopes up. This might be just like that damn bat. The pipe was rusted and flakes stuck up like sharp razors. He'd probably get tetanus. Good lord. Okay, tetanus. Alright, let me see if I can spell that right. If not, I'm going to come back to it later. Oh, tetanus. Alright, he'd probably get tetanus just trying to pick it up. It would be a mistake. He should just keep running. Waldo grabbed up the long, rusty pipe. It felt solid, but he wouldn't know until he tried to use it. This time, he didn't stay in place. He ran with the awkward but solid feeling pipe. Okay, now let's see if we can do something with this before we reach 2,500 words for today. Alright. Nearing the next intersection where he might find a clear path, Waldo took his first swing. He hit the lamppost. Instead of the zombies. Instead of the zombies beyond it. Glass fell from above as rust shed off the pipe like dandruff. It did feel solid, though, as it vibrated up his arms. He had to use the pipe sideways. He had to use the pipe sideways to shove them backwards, to shove the undead backward. And then he ran around the light post, light post to get away. Glass crunched under his boots as he went. All right. He swung again, but the damn zombie had its arms up, reaching for him. All right, he swung again, but the damn zombie had its arms up, reaching for him. All right. The bones broke. The bones broke in its arms. And he even managed to knock out a few of its teeth. That wasn't good enough. But that wasn't good enough. Good enough when it came to dispatching zombies. More of them were coming all the time, and Waldo wasn't moving. He gave out a whine from deep in his throat without realizing he was making any noise at all. Waldo swept the zombie's feet out from under it. With its arms bent unnaturally, like an undead praying mantis, its head bounced on the street, but didn't open up. Waldo pressed down so that the pipe rested against the monster's forehead. Okay, against the monster's forehead. All right, Waldo pressed down so that the pipe rested against the monster's forehead. He sawed back and forth. The sharp bits of metal raising off the side of the pipe cut into the zombie's brow, deeper and deeper as the rest of the mob drew closer. Finally, the head broke and folded apart and open like a rotten pumpkin. The zombie went limp in a puddle of its own brains. Alright. Should I keep pushing till I finish this? Okay, the zombie went limp in a puddle of its own brains. He couldn't explain why he had bothered. Maybe he just wanted to prove to himself. Maybe he just wanted to prove to himself that he could still kill one. Alright, I am past my 2,500 word mark for the day. I think I'm going to go ahead and split this story somewhere further above. So I'm going to do a chapter 2 after he gets past the car. So undead mom pressed his back, the corpse pinned, no bites. Alright, his arm was a cold mess all the way up to the elbow. Waldo slid along the side of the rusty vehicle and rolled over the hood as zombies passed around the old car on both sides to get him. Okay, I'm going to make a chapter 2 there. Doesn't really change anything, but it kind of breaks this up a little. And then I'll break another chapter later on as we go here. So I'm at 2,700 words even, which is 200 above my goal. All right, Armand asks, and I think I missed this earlier, when are you doing an update for you and other authors? I'm not writing again until my 1 p.m. Twitch time. Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing that, man. I'm going to do an update now, in fact. So we'll jump in on that, and I'll cut the 2 videos. So I'll have a video that's just of today's writing, and then I'll have a separate video that covers the update, and I'll post those around everywhere as well. But let's go ahead and do that now. So at 2,700 words today, we are going to do our first update. So here's now that's the 50,056 words from last year. That novel that I wrote last year, I still haven't finished. So that's one of the downsides of NaNoWriMo, but I will get back to that. This novel's going to stop at a little over 50,000 words, so I'll have the first draft done, and I definitely intend to edit it and get it out in the first couple months of the new year. All right, so we got Ruthless, Rabid, Raging, Ravenous, Rampaging, Remorseless, Repulsive, Revolting, Repugnant zombies. You can see the cover there. If you're interested in seeing the unedited cover, you can go. I friended you on NaNoWriMo. Cool, man. I'm going to see you there in a minute. If you're interested in seeing the unedited cover without the flowers, if you go to my About page on Twitch and click on the cover image with all the flowers on it, you can see the uncensored version. All right, so let's update here. I got an even 2,700 words. The title itself kind of makes 14 of those words, I think. All right, so we will put in, let's say total words. All right, this is 2,700. All right. Update your progress. All right, and we are 2,700 words into this novel. I got my first day update. I updated my progress. Now I'm going to take a look at a few other authors' pages here. I don't know if they've updated yet. I know several of them have written, so I'm only looking at my buddies on NaNoWriMo who have given me permission to do so. So I'm not sneaking in on anyone that doesn't want us taking a look at it. So this is Armand Rosamilia, a writer that I respect very much. He is doing Man Down, First Coast Thrillers, Book 3. but he shared a short story with one of his newsletters there, so you set from this particular series. So Armand Rosamelia is accomplished as a horror writer. Its Shakedown Book 1 is pre-sale and comes out January 15th, so you can jump on that. I'll share a link with that later. If you have one handy, Armand, you can share that in the chat as well if you want. So I'm excited about this. He's leaning into crime fiction now, and this new series is going to be really good. Dirty Deeds is one of my favorite crime fiction series. I'm sure this one's going to be great as well. So we are 1,690 words in, and he is going to be streaming at 1 p.m. And if I understood him correctly, he's going to be doing his Nano at that point as well. Right there you go. Got a link there, so be sure to check that out. It is well worth pre-ordering that if you're interested. And once you've read all of Armand Rosamelia's books, feel free to go to my About page and read a couple of mine as well. You'll be writing Nano at 1. Excellent. All right, so jumping back out to full screen so you don't see my buddies who don't want to be seen. We will see what's next. All right, this is Roger, and he's going to be doing various short stories. He also mentioned that he had some things going on that may get in the way of his NaNoWriMo, so I'm not going to harass him too much if he doesn't get going here. But if he finds some time to write, we'll pop back in on him and encourage him as we go along. But again, he has some life stuff kind of getting in the way right now, which one thing I do have a problem with NaNoWriMo is that it's such a goal-driven month, which again, and by itself is not a bad thing. That's the point, is to meet your goals. But again, with life stuff getting in the way and all sorts of other things causing trouble, you never know what's going to get in the way there. All right. Another friend of mine on here is Oscar Jones. He's doing a story called Demons and Disasters. He has not updated yet. I don't know if he's written yet. Again, we're at the beginning of the first day, so some people wrote at midnight and may not have actually updated yet. But he's got a little cover there, and I'm interested to see what that story becomes. And this is interesting because I don't know what the initials stand for, but he's doing a DMIN novel, and I know some of his work, so if I were thinking more clearly, I could probably figure out which either series or novel that was going to be. But he hasn't updated yet, which again, I don't know if he just hasn't updated yet or hadn't gotten around to writing yet. I know I've popped in on the morning here. I may touch base with my friends offline again just to see what their plans are and who might still be writing. And some of that will be clearer as we go forward. So those of you who may be watching who are doing NaNoWriMo, if you want to be my buddy on there, I'm Jay Wilburn, and you can join in with me. Let me jump back to my profile there, and you can see me. All right. So you can be my buddy on there. Just find Jay Wilburn. And if you're interested in me, like checking up on you on stream, I would love to. If you don't want that, you can be my buddy, and I'll leave you alone. Won't show you online anyway, but sometimes that's kind of encouraging. A lot of people were encouraged last year by these checkups, and it might be exciting to kind of be working on this together and getting these updates out there to let people know what you're working on. In a little bit, I'm going to head over to Armand Rosamelia's Twitch channel and see some of his writing. I'm excited about that. I'm glad he's interested in showing us what's going on with this series, and I'm excited to get book 1. I got a whole shelf of Armand Rosamelia books that some of them I've already read and some I'm going to go through, and of course this new series will be on that shelf eventually as well.